Why did the dictator ban carousel rides in his country?
Why?
Because they were revolutionary.
This is a Dick and Pony show. I am Richie, and this is Pony.
We're coming to you from the Grape and Grain in Everett, Washington, right here along old Evergreen Highway. So they got some local regional taps, and then cooler full of cold stuff, and they also have wine, if that's your thing. They have a lot of wine, but I don't know anything about wine. Who knows about wine?
Someone teach us. Here's their logo, and here's the beer we're going to be having.
Ooh, Belching Beaver, huh?
Hazy IPA from Belching Beaver in Oceanside, California.
I have to tell you a truth. I have elitist feelings about Belching Beaver.
Belching Beaver released that beer with Deftones. I've listened to one song from Deftones probably in my entire life.
I've had the peanut butter milk thingy.
So this is the Hazer's Gonna Hate.
Hazer's Gonna Haze.
Hazer's Gonna Haze from Belching Beaver in Oceanside, California.
What are they? Wolf tigers?
What? No, those are punk beavers.
Cheersies. Here we go. Punk beavers?
Yeah, definitely. Look,
oh wait, yeah,
that green
I see
mohawk.
it. Yeah, he's got a black flag pen and a beaver tail. That's how you know he's punk. Oh, and spray paint.
Punk's not dead from the Exploited. I enjoy it. It's good.
It's juicy, citrusy, like grapefruity.
It's a hazy, so you're gonna get that citrusy. It's
yeah.
All right.
So today we're going to talk about Pancho Villa. Who is Pancho Villa, you ask? Well, the short answer to that question is that he was a general in the Mexican Revolution. There's a lot of words that get thrown out about Pancho Villa, like warlord, Robin Hood, revolutionary hero, movie star, terrorist, bandit, statesman, governor, so on and so forth. So this guy was born Jose Doroteo Arango Arambula.
Arango. Jose Doroteo Arango Arambula. Booyah.
Born in 1878, grew up on a large hacienda in Durango, which is a state in Mexico. So the hacienda system was basically like a feudal system, pretty much a system of indentured servitude. Like there was like always an indebtedness of the people who worked on the land to the landowner. Things happened.
So it's like working for Amazon today.
Right. But basically, it provided a subsistence level existence for a vast majority of the population of Mexico. It's an old story.
Same story. We're still telling it today.
He quit school, which wasn't like that significant because his education was pretty rudimentary to begin with, but he needed to help his mother and 5 siblings, so he's laboring, sharecropping, skinning, that kind of stuff. But eventually, by the time he's about 16, he moves to the state of Chihuahua. So he returned to Durango to track down the hacienda owner who his sister. So after that, he absconded up into the Sierra Madres and began his life as a bandito.
Bandito. Bandito.
Is that a word we're not supposed to say?
Is bandito a word we're not supposed to say?
You can say bandito.
Oh, it just means bandit.
Spanish for bandit.
Yeah.
Around 1902, he was arrested for stealing mules and assault. However, he had some very, very powerful friends. These friends said that instead of being executed, he could join the Mexican Federal Army, which he did, but some point along the way he deserted. By 1903, he had killed an army officer, stole his horse, and it was around this time that we know he was going by Francisco Pancho Villa.
Pancho Villa. The Mexican hero.
There's a few possible explanations for the name change. One is that he took on the name of his grandfather, who was apparently Villa. And I don't know where the Francisco came from, but whatever.
But whatever.
It's fun.
What's in the name?
Another is that he apparently assumed the identity of another bandit who was operating in the area at the time. La Cucaracha was apparently his nickname.
Okay. You're telling me, or you're asking me?
Do you know that? That's fine.
Let's worry about it later. Look in the book.
Pretty tasty.
Pretty good beer.
I'm sorry I've been mean to Belching.
I'm pleasantly surprised. Thank you, Belching Beaver. You're never gonna see this.
Beaver. So stick a fork in that. We need to actually sort of jump ahead to the Mexican Revolution. So think about that. Like he was already
rolling around the Sierra Madres.
Yeah.
Between Chihuahua, Dorado, and
Durango. He was going between the dog and the Dodge. I mean, he do a gross oversimplification of the Mexican Revolution, which was a 10-year period from 1910 to 1920, which, you know, depending on how you look at it, wasn't necessarily like a 10-year revolution as much as it was like one revolution and then like multiple iterations of a civil war.
Different teams.
Yeah. One team ends up fighting the team that used to be on their side, and there's a lot of like, you know, crisscrossing,
splitting up,
factions,
applesauce.
Right. So this guy Porfirio Diaz, he had been president for 7 terms, like pretty much 30 years. Really not a democratically elected person. 1910 election. He said he wasn't going to run, but he lied. Enter this guy Francisco I. Madero. Kind of pissed off, like hoping to get his hat in the ring for 1910, but Diaz threw him in jail. So Diaz wins the election. Madero gets out, calls for armed revolt on a specific day, which no one actually heeds. The hacienda system was expanding. Gross inequality, labor strikes, revolts, coalition of different leftists and rightists, and just everybody hating Diaz groups formed. Kicked his ass out. He resigned. I think he went into exile, like Paris or some shit. So he's gone. Madero's in. He's the president.
And that's a revolution in 2 minutes.
We're not even done. Pancho Villa was 32 years old by the time the revolution even started. He was like out banditing, had his fucking shtick, you know, that he was like, that's what he was doing. He was stealing shit, horses, and selling, you know, banditing. So he gets hooked up with this dude named Abraham Gonzalez, turns his like banditry against Diaz. So the whole Diaz like fall, like Pancho Villa was a really big part of that. He was like a super duper tactician and like guerrilla fighter. And it was like, whoa, you're an awesome military leader. He ended up like being colonel by the end of the initial revolution. Apparently like a big thing being a colonel. That gets us to about 1911, 1913. You got this guy named Madero. He's the president. People like Pancho Villa and people like Emilio Zapata.
If you've ever seen a picture of a bandito with the bandoleros and the big old sombrero, that's Zapata with the big old mustache.
They had the same mustache.
They both. Zapata always was known for being painted with his bandoleros. We'll work on that.
It's fine.
We got things.
So they were all about land reform, bringing down the hacienda system, like power to the people. Like Madero, he was the richest guy in Mexico. So you can imagine he wasn't like all that hip. He got through the revolution, but no, you know, that stuff's a little extreme. And I don't know what his deal was.
How far left are you going to lean if you have a bunch of money?
What are you going to do with rich people, man? So this guy named Pascual Orozco. Orozco. He rebelled against Madero. Pancho, like, come on, join up. But Pancho was like, and ended up fighting him, defeating him. Because of that, he got promoted to general. Right about 1912, 1913 was when his film career began. So Pancho Villa has 16 IMDb credits. 3 to 4 of them are like feature-length documentaries, and then like the rest are a bunch of like news shorts, and he's got a producer credit. Dude, like
there is a movie called And Pancho Villa Plays Himself. But
I think it's not true. I read
but you can still check it out.
Yeah.
It's a Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
It's not a documentary. But it's interesting either way.
1913, Madero actually gets knocked out of power and assassinated with his vice president by this guy named Huerta. Villa had already fallen out with Madero, saying like you destroyed the revolution. And when Huerta comes in, they're like, whoa, like screw this guy, because it was just like straight up military junta. The grassroots weren't having it. And so Captain Richard on the Atlantic in a ship full of
potatoes, my dictatorship.
There was no love lost between Huerta and Villa. A group called the Constitutionalists, so that was like the new sort of thing. It was like Huerta versus the Constitutionalists and the ongoing civil war that is the Mexican Revolution. Constitutionalist faction forms under this guy named Carranza. 1914, Pancho Villa becomes the provisional governor of Chihuahua. At least from my perspective, this was kind of like the zenith of his power and influence. He, at this point, was kind of a primary contact for the U.S. government to like represent Mexico. He was also getting quite a lot of arms from them, so they were funding Pancho Villa's army. 1914 is also a period where he starts to break with Carranza. He forms a group called the Conventionists with Zapata, who was guy in the south, Villa was the guy in the north, blah, 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 blah. Pancho is defeated in battle. It is around this time that the U.S. also starts to talk a lot more to Carranza than he does to Pancho Villa. Pancho Villa's arms get cut off. Not his arms, his arm shipments.
You can't hug your children with nuclear arms.
So, you know, the whole like U.S. abandoning him for Carranza thing definitely pisses him off to no end. More of a guerrilla leader than an army leader. He doesn't have enough men to really be called an army. 1916, he raids Columbus, New Mexico. Like, there's like two stories. One was that he was just like pissed off at the United States and wanted his revenge. The other one was that he actually just needed to go steal a bunch of horses and munitions and shit.
Get money.
Yeah. At this point, he's not really like a national leader. He's just kind of Pancho Villa with his band of. He's back to being a bandito. I don't know how else to say it.
The Mexican Robin Hood, baby. So
he settles into a life in Chihuahua as what I would really just call a warlord. Burp take. He continued leading guerrilla forces until the end of the revolution. He made a peace agreement with the Mexican government, now presided by a guy named Adolfo de la Huerta. Different than the Huerta from earlier, this is de la Huerta. Part of the deal, he got 25,000 acres of land and 500,000 pesos. He lived out the last years of his life in his hacienda, basically unable to leave without his 50 bodyguards. But in 1923, for some reason, he thought it would be a really good idea to leave without his 50 bodyguards. So this guy named Alvaro Obregon, Obregon.
These are Mexican.
I'm Irish, not Mexican.
You could be.
We both have red hair. Obregon, his one-time ally, long-time foe, Pancho Villa was riding a car into a town called Canutillo. I don't know that one. I speak more Spanish than you do.
No, you don't.
¿Dónde está el baño?
It's right over there. I see it.
You smell like queso. All right, so he went into a town called Canutillo to do some business with only 4 bodyguards and 2 ranch hands. Pretty obvious what happened. So 40 bullets into a car later. That's the life of Pancho Villa. A very abbreviated, very stupid, very drunk way.
I enjoyed your story. It's a story.
It's like shitty history.
You're Irish, I'm Irish. I'm Mexican, you're
Not.
related to a Mexican.
That's right. What do you got?
Tell you what I got.
What do you got?
I got the story about Pancho Villa's attack on Columbus, New Mexico. Cheers. In middle January 1916.
60?
16. Pancho Villa took like 200 of his homies and they were like, let's go fuck up America. Like, he just wanted to attack the United States. It's a small little town of mostly wooden shacks. So like everyone's like, why the hell did you go there? This dude, Sam Flavel, not Flagadoon, Ragadoon, whatever. What this dude did was he took money from Pancho Villa, promising him some rifles, and he never gave him the rifles. So when Pancho Villa asked for the money back, he said, "Not kick rocks." And Pancho Villa was like, "All right, we gotta kill this dude.
Don't fuck with banditos."
Yeah, well, a criminal has nothing to lose. Oh, you stole from me? All right, I'm just gonna shoot you.
Preach it. Tell me more.
Preach it. Pancho Villa let his whole army know that, like, hey, this is what we're doing. We're gonna go do an attack on the United States. On the way there, he was faced with like so much desertion. 2 of his top colonels took off. 1 left. He sent 1 to go look for that one, and that dude never came back. He second guessed himself and said, "All right, let's turn around." So on his way back, he robbed a train. He told his guys, like, don't hurt anybody, but just take whatever you want. So like nobody on the train was harmed, but they took like whatever valuables they could find. To replenish his numbers, Pancho Villa did something that he had never had to do. Did a forced recruitment. So he went to like, the states and cities where he had recruited from before. They said, yo, like, if you're not gonna come fight with us, I'm gonna kill you. If you go and hide, I'm just gonna kill your family. There's even a story about one of the guys who had a lame leg. It's lame? Proper?
He was disabled.
He had an injury that caused a disability.
We'll edit that out.
Just keep it. I understand my biases, and I'm doing my best. He asked Pancho, he said, didn't giving my leg do enough for the cause? And he said, you know what? The cause is there for you. It's now is truly your time to be there for the cause. After his recruitment phase, he's like, all right, let's go. And they started marching towards Columbus. He didn't really tell his army that they were marching toward Columbus. So they was just like, oh, all right, we're going this way, fellas. Let's go. Because they didn't want word getting back to Columbus. Any civilians they came across, they would kidnap them.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ?
He's getting intense, man.
Oh, yeah, he got real wild. Any Mexicans that he kidnapped, he eventually let them go. The Americans, even the cowboys that he was friends with, he killed them. He obviously had a grudge against the Americans at this point in time.
He was pretty pissed.
There was one woman Pancho Villa kept until after the raid. Every other American was killed. So he had a heart, I guess. Sorry, I scratched my nose. So Pancho Villa marches for 2 weeks straight with this army, and he finally arrives in the Columbus area. He sends a scouting party to go check it out because he knows Camp Furlong is there, and he doesn't know how many soldiers are there. And they come back, and they mistake the 600 men for 50.
No.
Too easy. Yeah. Right before they go on the raid, Pancho Villa rides out, checks it out himself, and he's like, man, I don't know about this. His closest words, like his colonels and stuff, are like, nah, we got this. We got this. On March 8th at 4:45 in the morning, these dudes roll into town. He keeps the majority of his team, out of Columbus because they think it's going to be too easy. And then they send another group into the city that splits off into two of its own groups. Half of it go to Camp Furlong.
Okay.
Half of it go to the middle of the city to rob the bank.
I mean, there was a financial motive here.
No, there's definitely he knew.
It was like screwing with the U.S., but also like he went there to get
So that's the thing is he had for sure had a problem with the United States at this time. He's like, oh, you guys sold me bad arms. You let my enemies march through your territories. Could have been ramblings, but like there was some weight to it because most of it was true. What were you just talking about? Why he was attacking Columbus. So the half that went to go attack the garrison, they fired into the stables instead of into the sleeping quarters. So all they did was kill horses that they wanted to steal. All of these soldiers wake up and they're like, what the hell's going on? We're getting fired on. A lot of chaos going on at this time. There was a lieutenant who got all the soldiers, got their shit together, started returning fire on Pancho Villa's Villistas. Starts messing these dudes up. They're like, all right, we gotta get the hell out of we gotta get out of this base. And so they kind of go into the city. So the soldiers are having a problem with the chaos within the city of people leaving their homes and, wherever they were living at the time to run into the street, try to find safety. It was good. It was good for Pancho Villa's army until they made the great idea to light Sam Ravel's hotel on fire. What happened was it lit up the streets enough for the U.S. soldiers to see who was civilians and who was Pancho Villa's army. At about 7 o'clock in the morning, the bugler sounded his horn for retreat, and they took off. So the American army followed.
It was because Sam Ravel owed him money.
Well, yeah, Sam Ravel owed him money. Yeah, kind of the reason why people think he attacked Columbus because he lived there. Are you not paying attention? But the rear guard pushed back, and the U.S. forces had to return to Camp Furlong. So even though this attack was completely non-successful, it brought new life to Pancho Villa's causes. And that was the attack on Columbus, New Mexico.
How did they fuck that up?
How did they fuck that up?
How did they miss
600 men?
Yeah.
He did not scout well enough.
I'm surprised.
He wanted to make an attack on the United States. He wasn't paying that much attention to what went down. Because when he had that gut feeling that he shouldn't have attacked it, shouldn't have attacked it. Shut up for a second. I got something to talk about. So this is our reference material. The Life and Times of Pancho Villa by Frederick Katz. It was a great book. If you're interested more in learning about Pancho Villa and the Mexican Revolution, this is the book for you.
So we got to do this from the Grape and Grain here in Everett, Washington, right off the Evergreen. It's a little neighborhood shop that I like to go to. They got plenty of taps. They got a ton of wine. This is a lovely spot for date night if you're in the area. I happen to be able to walk here, which is wonderful because at the end of the day on Friday, me and Lady Pony can come here and she can have a wine and I can have Miss Candy.
Her name's Miss Candy.
Her name is
That's too personal. Cut that.
They
cut
were
that.
kind enough to let us come in here today and use up their space. You want to say something? Don't listen to them.
When I was